afternoon, South Africa, and welcome to Afternoon Express. My name is Danilo Acquisto.
And I'm Jeannie D. Welcome to the show. Today we are going to have a few heated debates because we are going to be chatting about something that's super topical right now, e-tolling. Now, the conversation's already started online, but today we are going to be hearing both sides of the stories here in the loft.
Indeed. We did extend an invitation to Sanral to send through a representative, but they were unable to make it onto our live show today. But we do have transport economist Andrew Marseille joining us in the loft today. He's had over 35 years of experience in this field and will hopefully give us a little bit more insight into how to think about this e-toll saga in a rational way.
We also have the author of the ETolls saga in the loft, as well as chairperson of the Urban Association of, well, Outer. Basically, they're called Outer. And he's going to be in the loft today telling us exactly what they're all about and why he feels that the ETolls saga in South Africa has been an absolute failure.
One of the best parts about tuning into Afternoon Express is that you can interact with us live on air. 083-913-3728. You can join the conversation with us there. Otherwise, on Facebook, you can comment on our page, and on Twitter at Afternoon Chat using the hashtag Afternoon Express is where you can find us.
And obviously, this is a fantastic topic to get really sunk into social media.
Yes.
So be sure to tweet us. We're going to be reading out your tweets and Facebook comments a little bit later on the show. But now, the gorgeous Bon Bizzle is in the kitchen.
Of course, I'm in the kitchen. Good afternoon, I'm Bonnie Booley. So today's the next installment of our Go Green Sustainability series, and today we're focusing specifically on the good beauty journey, specifically Beauty Without Cruelty. So do keep your phones handy so you can enter our Go Green SMS competition. But for now, I'm joined by Untitled Chapter, product developer, and we're making a nicoise salad, right?
That is correct. Today we'll be doing a classical tuna nicoise salad. Just the only thing different about it today, instead of using tin tuna, we'll be using our sustainably caught yellowtail, and we'll be confying that ever so gently in olive oil.
Sounds absolutely amazing. I'm really amazing at making this salad, so you've got some competition on your hands. Can't wait to get started. And of course, go to our website, afternoonexpress.co.za for the full recipe and shopping list. But for now, let's join Danilo on the couch with our first guest.
Indeed, yes. E-tolling has been the topic of many heated debates across South Africa, and in a country where the economy is struggling like it is understandable that people can become very emotional on the issue, which affects their hard-earned money. Now, joining us on the couch to give a little bit of a better understanding of what's actually going on and to help us see the bigger picture is transport economist with more than 3 decades of experience, Andrew Marseille. Now, Andrew, very warm welcome to Afternoon Express and to our loft.
Thank you. It's great to be in your loft with you. I'm just looking for pigeons flying around. That's what a loft means to me.
You'll notice when they leave their droppings, you'll know when they have come over and flown over. Now, Andrew, you're in the hot seat, I think, today in many ways. And it's first of all an honor to have you here today to share a little more of a rational view on this saga that's been sort of the matter of debate in our country for a very, very long time. The first question we have to ask you is, has this been a new thing that's been implemented in our country, or have there been issues like this that have received so much backlash in our history in South Africa and maybe even globally?
Short answer is no. I'm going to answer by reading from a history of my hometown, Bradford, in Yorkshire, in England. And in 1750, this is what happened. There were no roads. The Industrial Revolution was starting, and to get goods and people around between cities, if it was a rainy day, you'd be up to your middle in mud. So they started to pass private toll road projects called turnpikes. I read from this, to the ordinary people, the turnpike acts were deliberate attempts to make poor people pay for the privileges enjoyed by the rich, a view shared by that great traveller and preacher, John Wesley. Resentment reached such a pitch that many toll bars were pulled down and houses burnt. But in spite of the public opposition, the improved roads greatly helped the movement of goods and passengers. That was 1750 in England, so nothing's new under the sun.
So there was an actual purpose for those roads that were put there. There were no roads that existed. New infrastructure was being put in place to help the transport of goods. What is e-tolling and the toll system that we're going to be contributing to in our economy?
Well, very interesting that there's quite a parallel with what we're doing today in South Africa with what happened then. The reason that they had to set up turnpike companies to pave the roads was that the government didn't have the funds to do everything that the people would have liked them to have done. The economy was growing, and so they didn't have it. They farmed it out to the private sector. Now, e-tolling goes back 20 years in South Africa. After 1994, the government had to take stock of the situation as to what their priorities were. Social expenditure in the new South Africa was the top priority, and yet we had to have infrastructure, water, electricity, roads. So in looking at transport infrastructure in particular, a decision was made that wherever possible, infrastructure should be paid for by the user of the infrastructure, so that there's a close alignment between those who benefit from it and those who pay for it.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same principle in electricity and water, and it's a question of priorities. Can we afford to do everything? No, we can't. We must have different funding methods for different things.
Okay.
There is a second annex to that. In the year 2000, this principle was further elaborated in what was called the National Land Transport Transition Act. And they said there that we want to try and prioritise public transport. So however we fund our infrastructure, it must be done in a way in which public transport benefits or is prioritised.
Yeah.
So the critical thing in the choice of funding method is not, is it easy to raise the money? It's, will it benefit public transport or will it continue to facilitate the migration out of public transport into private cars, which we believe to be unsustainable.
So many users might be asking the question around, you know, our roads aren't maybe at the sort of state that they wish that they would be in the future. We are paying things like normal toll gates that we go through, a whole bunch of other taxes on our roads too. Why the extra tax now on roads? Why not on some other industry?
Well, it goes back to the answer I've just given you. The reason for tolling is that we've got a lot of priorities in the country, and the government decided that where it's possible to align the benefit of the user with those who, of payment with those who use it, the correct method of funding that infrastructure is by a user pays. It's not just a principle plucked out of the air, it's an affordability thing.
Okay.
So to look at the ETolls as they are now, in the early 2000s, when Sanwal and the Gauteng provincial government wanted to see the freeways expanded, the Treasury said, yes, go ahead, but remember the principle. It cannot be done, it will not be done, unless it's done by tolling. Now, I was part of a discussion in about 2007 which sought to address some of the concerns which the city of Johannesburg had and which Gauteng province had about tolling.
Yeah.
And I facilitated a discussion at that time which brought the cities, the metros, the province, Sanwal and the DOT together.
Yeah.
And a consensus was reached by all the institutions that, right, we're going to do it by e-tolling, a publicly procured e-toll, not private company, because that, if it had been a private company e-toll, it would have been a rand per kilometre, and not public procurement via the public fiscus, however that's funded. Because that would not have met the objective either of the prioritisation via user pays or facilitating a slowing down of the migration away from public transport.
So I think we're getting a very clear picture here that I think a lot of the public don't understand the amount of process that went into setting up this infrastructure. It wasn't just sucked out of somebody's thumb and said, well, let's implement this. It's received a lot of emotional response from the public, and it's lots of outcry that has been. A lot of political parties have used it as part of their campaigns. We've seen a lot of organizations also going up in arms and making noise about this. Why is that so? And what effect does it have?
Nobody likes to have their pockets touched. But in my judgment, I've watched the whole thing from 2004 through, and my job, when I did part of the cost-benefit appraisal for Sanwal with others, and we looked at who benefits and who doesn't from the e-tolling, and we discovered that the impact on lower-income people is minuscule. Now, people didn't seem to believe that, and COSATU especially. COSATU got actively opposed to e-tolls a year before OTA was formed. And their main battle cry was that it's discriminating against low-income people. Now, this has been shown time after time by studies, not only by consultants, but more recently by Gauteng's EToll panel review, to be false. And I've actually challenged COSATU on this, Patrick Craven, who was their spokesman, and he eventually acknowledged that, yes, the tolls are a progressive tax. They are incident mostly on the higher income people. And only I said, well, why don't you change your stance? And after asking that question of Patrick Craven for the third time, he said, if we change our minds now, we'll lose lots of members.
So it became a jump on the bandwagon kind of argument.
Now, others did jump on the bandwagon. Sadly, through that wrong information, the churches got involved. Churches rightly have a concern with the poor. And I'm a Christian, I support that principle. But I knew that the facts on which they were basing their decision were false. And yet they were brought into this on false pretenses.
Yes. Even in the Christian faith, there's the give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and God what belongs to God. So tolling is not something that I think people are not used to. And I'm keen to engage with this conversation a little bit further, Andrew. I know we're never going to feel like we have enough time to expand on all of this stuff, but we're going to try our best today as we engage with the conversation from both sides. So thank you for being with us today. You, South Africa, after the break, Bonnie gets cooking in the kitchen, and we continue this conversation right here on e-tolling with author Wayne Duvenhager, who'll be giving us a little bit more of a twist on the other side of the tale. Don't go anywhere.
Express yourself. Express yourself.
Great to have you back with us on SABC3 Afternoon Express. If you've just joined us, we're about to start making a nicoise salad. Right?
Yeah, that's correct.
What's our first step?
So in the pan here, as you can see, I've just taken our yellowtail and I've just put it in the pan, just got in a deep enough pan basically just to cover it with enough olive oil. And just to go with it, I've obviously added a lot of aromatics. You can see I've added some flat leaf parsley, I've added some thyme, I've added some lemon peel, some garlic. That's just going to add so much flavour into this dish. And
but I'm surprised you didn't warm the oil before,
there's no need.
right?
There's no need to warm it up because confying is actually cooking at basically low temperature, long time. So this will actually be cooking at.
confying,
It will
okay.
be cooking it basically at less than 100 degrees, but actually it will be cooking it very quickly though as
So
well.
it's basically boiling in the oil.
Yeah, but very, very slowly.
We love it.
So I mean,
Okay.
what we can actually do on this side, so I mean, we've got the other ingredients which are going to be accompanying
Okay.
it. So I mean, a classical tuna nicoise salad, you need your olives, you need your tomatoes, you need your baby potatoes, your French beans, and boiled egg basically. But what I've done today is I've just taken eggs and instead of boiling them, we've just actually poached them. Today.
yeah.
So I mean, you can maybe just come on this side.
So they're quite hard though.
Yeah,
You
they'll
can't have
be
them
soft.
too
They'll
soft.
be soft. So what you can do for me is just take these tomatoes. We'll need but more tomatoes. Just quarter them for me. So just cut
Quarter
them in
them.
half and then cut
Okay.
them in half again. And then
What kind of a fish is yellowtail?
so yellowtail is actually tuna. It's
actually tuna?
It's tuna. Yes, it's tuna. I mean, it's not your bluefin, which you kind of used to on your sushi. This is locally sourced, locally caught, and it's caught with line. So it's not hand caught. It's caught with on a line.
On a line,
Yeah.
okay.
So I mean, you don't really want this to cook that quickly. I mean, but just for time today, we'll actually just cook it very quickly.
How long would you want it to cook ideally?
Ideally, I'd like it to just cook very, very slowly for about 10 to 15 minutes.
All right.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah,
and
be,
then I'll just
be
grab-
sure to check out our website, afternoonexpress.co.za, for the full recipe and shopping list if you're cooking along with us. And if not, just keep it and make your salad on another day. This is definitely my favorite salad.
Could you just cut the
I've
end
never
of
made
the-
it your way, but I'm definitely going to try.
Could you just cut the end of the lettuce for me? I just want to
course.
start building.
Okay.
Cool. And then with this one, you can just cut it in quarter as well, just like you've
As
done
well?
with... Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is just basically just lay some leaves just on the plate like that.
Right.
Cool. Now it's just building. Take my beans, put those around. These have just been blanched and cut in half, and refreshed in ice water just to keep that color once
Oh,
again.
yes.
Cool. So
And
now-
to keep them from wrinkling.
That's correct. Let's have a look at our fishy.
Right. Okay. There we go.
Fishy's almost cooked. Smells wonderful.
It does smell amazing.
Wish everyone else could smell it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, cool. So what do we do next?
Cool. So just building. Just make
Just
it look
building
beautiful.
it.
Just put
Okay.
everything around. Just layers of everything. Putting some tomatoes there. And the fish, obviously, the hero of the dish, will sit right on top of all
Right
of
on
this,
top.
yeah.
What other type of fish could I use?
Other fish you could use, very fatty fish works great with confying. So you could use your
Yeah.
trout. You could use trout. We've got trout which is on the green sassy list as well. But I mean, any other fish which is fatty from your point of view, which you could enjoy.
Okay.
Cool.
Perfect. And I see you've got anchovies there as well.
Yeah, anchovies. You can't have nicoise
A
salad
nicoise salad without anchovies, of course.
So, I mean, anchovies, usually you can use them to make the dressing or to actually put them in the salad and make them look wonderful. So we'll just put that around. That's enough leaves for us now,
Okay,
Bonnie.
perfect.
Thank you.
Is that enough? I was going to town there.
Cool. Well,
Yeah,
you can actually
wonderful.
put some more potatoes and some more beans.
And do we just season our potatoes with
So all I've
salt
done with
and
the potatoes,
pepper?
just put them basically, boil them, and then all I've done actually is just cut them in quarters. And yeah. So I'm going to take the fish out now.
Right. So is it ready now?
Yes, it
That
should
was
be
quick.
ready. Should be ready.
Okay, awesome. So we don't no need to shred the fish or chop it up?
If I put the fish whole on the plate, it just actually looks very presentable. So what I'm going to do is put it whole like that.
All about presentation.
And then just ever so gently, just try and break it up.
Break it up a bit. Okay,
like little
cool.
portions like
Okay,
that.
perfect. So we're going to add more of the fish, break it up, and we have a vinaigrette French dressing there, see?
That's correct.
Okay, wonderful.
there.
I think that's our nicoise salad done. And our
That's-
olives on top, of course.
Olives on top, yes. So then
Okay,
you can just grab
perfect.
the poached eggs there as well.
Awesome.
That fish.
You'll get to see the finished product at the end of the show, but for now, Danilo's itching for more riveting conversation about ETolls on the couch.
Oh, I am itching all over. Now, he has been very outspoken in the media with regards to his disapproval of the EToll system, and his book carefully documents this, as well as his journey from CEO to becoming a civil activist. Joining us on the couch is author of the EToll saga and chairperson of the opposition to Urban Tolling Alliance, Wayne Duvenage. So, Wayne, first of all, again, a warm welcome to the Loft. It's very good to have you here.
Great to be here.
It's good that we have a balanced view, I think, on the show today. You've had a chance to listen to what Andrew had to say. Just from the get-go, your main argument line for opposing this EToll system is what?
Well, it's the way it was introduced. Now, we're not against technology and the use thereof. We know tolling works around the world. It's the context in which it was applied in South Africa. First of all, you can imagine the surprise that not only myself, every fleet owner, fleet organisation, the public got when we heard about SANRAL's plan. The gantries were going up, and this decision was made. It was made in the absence of the necessary public consultation, which is in our
By
constitution.
legislation. Was
Yeah.
that legislatively not followed?
Yes, exactly. What SANRAL did is they put one advert in 6 newspapers. They hid that advert in the business and international business section of the newspapers. They got 28 responses. There's 3.5 million motorists in Gauteng, and they ticked the consultation box. In actual fact, when Nazir Ali was asked on one radio station, so what do you say to that? He said, well, you know, everybody else was obviously excited about it and keen with it. That's why there were so few responses. It was really due to the fact that there was a dismal, appalling public consultation process. Very different to what Ken Livingstone did in London. And the mayor in Stockholm did, where they got the public on their side. Now, you need the willing public compliance to participate and make this successful. If you do not have the public on your side, it fails. In fact, in Stockholm, after testing it for 6 months, they put it to a referendum, and they got a 75% vote, a positive vote. And the successes in those 2 cities and in others where it's worked is that the mayors engage with the society, they find the solutions with society, they put on extra public transport, park and rides and so forth, and so you have a success because the public are behind you. Well, that was completely lacking in Gauteng. And especially in a city where we have dismal public transport, there are no alternatives, so now you have a bigger problem. So naturally there's going to be a big backlash and outcry. Yeah.
So, Wayne, obviously we've mentioned the fact that the way it was potentially implemented was wrong. Do you believe in the cause?
What, in the cause, anti-etoll?
In tolling, no. Do you believe in tolling? As you said, you do believe in tolling. Could ETolls as a system contribute to our government and increase our economy well enough if it had gone through the right consultation?
Yeah, I think
with the
it could.
public?
I think it could. You know, had there been a consultative, participative process engaged, had we found solutions together, because you can imagine our industry as a chairman of the Car Rental Association, we could see this system impacting heavily and negatively in our business with no consultation. We had to change our business models. It was actually absolutely becoming frustrating, and there was this arrogant attitude, this non-transparent attitude. But had that process been inclusive, had we been involved and found the solutions together, and had the money not gone into road necessarily upgrading, but into public transport, giving us alternatives, well, that's a totally different picture. I might have been a very proud e-tag holder putting it up there saying, I'm contributing to the success of our city.
Yes.
But that's not what happened,
Okay,
unfortunately.
so let's say that SANRAL or this whole EToll saga did go to public, engage with the public a little bit more. Do you think that there would have been further outcomes or better outcomes for the way that this infrastructure has been put in place? And are there some loopholes that are causing issues that we think would have changed if that process had been followed?
Yeah, I think if you had have got the public and business and the unions involved in the decision, making the decision properly and together, you might have, for instance, had a situation where the roads weren't upgraded, partially upgraded, and all that money put into public transport. Now that could have brought a lot of support, especially from the unions. The outcry could have been a lot less, and we might have found the solution. Unfortunately, they just went ahead, made a decision in the background, built the road, spent the money, overspent, by the way. We've worked out it should have cost no more than 10.8 billion. That's with our experts. We paid 18 billion. Another sad reality in government spending on state-owned entity spending. We see it not only there, PRASA, Eskom, everywhere, where capital infrastructure projects cost minimal, double the price that they should. And Medupian projects that are now 4 to 5 times what they should be. So, you know, what we're seeing is an unfortunate situation where government are not being kept in check. We now have a secrecy issue around the nuclear deal bubbling up, and I'm afraid it's getting out of hand, and somebody has to do something about this. That's the reality. But coming back to the tolling, it's not about the ETolls. It's about how, in the context of this environment, we knew that e-notice was fraught with inefficiencies, was fraught with misinformation, poor information. We knew that number plate cloning was a problem. We knew that the billing errors were going to happen. Everything we predicted happened. Not at our doing.
But expectedly so. With any new infrastructure that is this scale, you expect that kind of infrastructure?
No, not to the extent that these that they experienced. No, it's a massive problem.
We're talking quite a lot about what could happen and what should have happened and how it should go on. But as a member of the public now, what happens now?
Well, the system's failed. So what you have is, when you have a user pay system, you need all users to pay. Now, you can get away with 90% paying. You can sort of accept maybe 80%, but our research shows around the world, in Texas and Portugal, that when you start going below 80% compliance, 80% that are paying get rather hacked off with the fact that 20% are getting away with it. Well, after threatening the public with criminal records, the most they could get to was 45% compliance in winter this time last year. And it was starting to level off, and then Makura announced his panel and it's dropped down. It's now 25% compliance. We're now nearly 2 years into a system with 25% compliance, so it has failed dismally.
So what does this mean for our economy? What does this mean for us, and what should we continue to do?
Well, we need to defy this and continue to defy it. This is called civil disobedience, and it's a campaign which we've stood behind. It's not that we're not paying. You must understand that when this road infrastructure project was undertaken in 2008, the fuel levy was bringing in just under 25 billion rand a year. This year, the fuel levy will raise 55 billion rand a year. Now, we're paying for it through the fuel levy. In fact, you can pay for 3 times those Gauteng freeway improvement projects in cash every year, just with the increase in the fuel levy when this road started. And you don't pay for these projects in cash, you pay them over 20 years. So we are paying. Make no mistake, government's getting the money. SANRAL got an extra 25% increase in their tranche from Treasury last year. They're getting 12.5 billion. The money is there. They mustn't say it's not there.
So, Wayne, I think I've really felt like we've taken our can open and we've opened up this can of worms, and I'm sure everyone else in South Africa is feeling the same way. I appreciate you being here. We are going to add Andrew to this conversation, so don't go anywhere. We'll be continuing the conversation with both of our experts in the loft today. Remember, we're also taking your calls live on 083 913 3728 with obviously none of those emotional charged responses. We want to know practically how this affects your pocket. And after the break, it's also our Go Green Sustainability series, and we'll tell you how you can win with us right here on Afternoon Express. Don't go anywhere.
Express yourself.
Willis and I collaborating to raise 100 million rand through the My School program. Are you with us?
Express yourself.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express, and welcome back to the next installment of our Go Green Sustainability series. Now, before we get started, though, it's time to reveal the winner of last week's 1,000 Rand Woolies gift card. The winner is Dawn Fisher from Cape Town. Congratulations to you. From everyone here at Afternoon Express, congratulations, and we hope you enjoy your prize. Now, women will do just about anything for beauty, but at the end of our routine, our conscience should still be as clear as our skin. Around the world, animals and the planet are suffering for our good looks, and it needs to stop. Doing their part to inspire a kinder beauty industry are Tony Brockhoven from Beauty Without Cruelty and Deshi Mudley, Woolworths Technical Beauty Manager. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for coming through to our loft. Now,
Thank you
firstly,
for having us in the loft.
I know, it's fabulous. And we all have such gorgeous makeup on. But I want to know, what are the principles to start off with for Beauty Without Cruelty?
Beauty Without Cruelty believes that we can look good, we can smell good, we can have clean homes without blistering, blinding and poisoning animals. And we'll discuss a little bit more of that later. But we believe in the idea that we do not need to exploit animals for any reason whatsoever. But particularly when it comes to our vanity, animals shouldn't have to suffer.
Absolutely.
And it is quite possible to live a really kind, compassionate life and look totally fabulous at the same time.
Exactly. Now, obviously, this has come to light in recent years with Facebook and also a lot of celebrities lending their voice to this cause.
Correct.
But, I mean, how as we, as regular people, how do we know if something is tested by animals or tested using animals?
The easiest thing to do is to look for humaneguide.co.za, and that will give you a list of brands that has been approved by Beauty Without Cruelty as proving, or where brands have proven that they do not animal test. It's one thing to say that we don't animal test. It's one thing to say this product hasn't been animal tested. It's not what you say. It's what you prove.
Okay.
And given that a number of brands have actually fraudulently used our logo, even though there is no cost involved ever to any company or the public for the use of the guide or to be audited or approved, it's completely inexcusable. But the upside of that, it shows that the approval of Beauty Without Cruelty as an endorsement has value, both to companies and the public at large.
And it's obviously not being policed, but you are watching. You are taking a good control of it.
Yes, we do. And more and more companies are coming to us and saying, please will you, and there's a specific process they have to follow. And once they are approved, they do have permission, after a signed agreement, to use the Beauty Without Cruelty logo.
Okay.
But again, just to clarify, it's not what a label says, because there are dozens of bunnies out there, and sadly, companies can and do lie in various ways.
All right. Now, one company that we know isn't that. Woolies has taken quite a firm stance on standing by the principles of Beauty Without Cruelty. But what are the alternatives? How do we know then that when we do use certain products, it's not going to be harmful to our skin or hair, or if a child is going to eat it, ingest it?
Okay, the first thing to do is actually read the ingredient list on the back of pack. That's one of the most important things. So the things to look out for are common things, just top of mind, and there's many others. Formaldehyde is the famous one that recently came in the spotlight due to the Brazilian sort of blow wave and so forth. Formaldehyde is a well-known preservative. All right, it's normally used to inhibit the growth of bacteria in your formulation, but we also know it's a well-known carcinogen. Very important that it can cause skin allergies. So one needs to read at the back of the pack to ensure that it doesn't contain that. Yeah.
And doesn't a carcinogen ultimately cause cancer? I mean, hasn't that recently been proven?
Correct. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. The other thing is a common ingredient is toluene. Toluene is used in nail polish or nail varnish as a solvent. So we know toluene again causes a lot of respiratory illnesses and issues with breathing and so forth, and skin allergies.
Yeah.
So to look out for these ingredients, it's very important to read back of pack.
Okay, and I agree with you. But to be honest, when I'm rushing through that shopping centre, the last thing that I'm going to do is go through and look for those ingredients. And how can, if you're not that socially aware of what's going on, and if you don't know all of these names, then how can you be sure that you're not damaging, A, animals, and B, the environment?
Yeah. So the first thing, as Tony mentioned, is looking at the Humane Guide, and the Humane Guide will give you a good guideline as to what to look for. Not always should you look at the logo, the bunny logo, as Tony rightly pointed out, some companies could use it in the incorrect way and not be endorsed by Beauty Without Cruelty. So Humane Guide for one, and the other is actually, unfortunately, you have to do some research. Okay, you're spending good money, rands on your product. You should know that you're spending the rands on the right company that believes in the right thing.
Exactly. Tony, for example, what would the perfect world of our beauty industry look like? What would your I know, because she walked into our makeup room earlier and said to the makeup artist, are these products tested on animals? The makeup artist just stood there like that. So what is a perfect world of our beauty industry?
The perfect world is I would be out of a job.
Cool, that's nice.
No,
Are you ready
seriously.
to retire?
No. In a perfect world, we would be able to buy cosmetics, personal care, and I have to just step in here and say that cosmetics and personal care is not limited to women. Men wash their hair, they wear aftershave, they use deodorant, they clean their teeth, and so on. So this is as important for men as it is for women. And what we say is beauty without cruelty means living without cruelty. So we can all make decisions and choices, and it really is as easy as having the Humane Guide. There are plenty of non-animal methods of testing to ensure that what you're using is safe for you. Besides the ingredients specifically, as Deshi's pointed out. But we still need to make sure that things are safe, as you asked earlier. And there are several non-animal methods available. So why use something where archaic, outdated, cruel, unnecessary and ineffective tests have been done?
Agreed.
You know.
So it's not just about makeup, it's also cleaning products and all of that. So moral of the story is to look out for the bunny on the packaging.
Is to use the Humane Guide, and the beauty of it is that you can download it onto your phone so that you've always got it on hand, and the logos are on there. So if in doubt, just check the guide or shop at Woolies.
Tony Deshi, thank you so much for coming through to us, and we love the work that Beauty Without Cruelty is doing. Thank you very much for coming through. Now, they say beauty is only skin deep, but actually the consequences reach far deeper than that. If we all do our part and think greener, the planet will be a happier, kinder place to live. Now, don't forget to enter our Go Green SMS competition to stand a chance of winning a 1,000 Rand Woolies gift card voucher. This week's question is, Beauty Without Cruelty is about A, exfoliating too much, B, not harming animals, or C, painless hair removal. SMS the keyword Go Green, your name, city, and answer A, B, or C to 33728, and you'll also be entered into our draw for the ultimate grand prize. Take a look at this.
The Afternoon Express team is going green. Join us every Tuesday at 4 p.m. until September as we bring you the most innovative trends in sustainable fashion, food, decor and design, as well as handy tips to help you reduce your carbon footprint.
Answer our Go Green question every Tuesday and stand a chance to win a 1,000 Rand Woolies gift card every week.
Plus, simply by entering, you also go into the big draw for the ultimate grand prize worth over R500,000.
Including a dream sustainable kitchen makeover from Cordev, fitted with Bosch appliances with 300,000 Rand. Also, up to 250,000 Rand worth of home upgrades so you can live off the grid. Plus, food and homeware from Woolworths valued at 75,000 Rand. And a 25,000 Rand towards a school of your choice with My School.
So, go big, go green with Afternoon Express every Tuesday at 4 p.m. to win these amazing prizes.
Welcome back. So we're in the kitchen about to make a beautiful grown-up banana split. You can't go wrong with combining banana, syrup, sugar, ice cream, nuts. Trust me. Okay, so what's our first step?
Exactly. So what we're doing today is we're going to be just taking that little banana split, which we all knew about when we were kids, taking it up a notch a little bit, and teaching you guys actually how to make the butterscotch sauce yourself.
Oh, wow.
So it's really, really simple.
Sauce.
At the moment, we've got a pan over there, which has got some butter, which is melting in at the moment. So we're just going to keep that melting at a nice temperature.
Okay.
And we have our bananas, which we can start off with.
Right.
So exactly the same thing. The pan also is now pretty much like a medium heat. And what we're going to do is we're going to get our bananas, which have been peeled. They've been sliced lengthways down the middle. And what we want to do is we want to place a little bit of sugar, which I've used the Demerara sugar, which works perfectly for this. And we're going to caramelize it.
Right.
So simply place those into
So this is
the sugar.
specifically Salati Muscovado unrefined sugar with a little bit of caramel blended with it.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's exactly that. So we've placed it onto the top. We see we've got a nice layer of sugar on top. And we're just going to place it flat side down.
Okay.
And the heat of that is actually going to start melting that sugar and caramelizing it, also giving it a really nice sort of, I would say, like a toffee taste.
Yeah.
All right, so that's no oil in that pan whatsoever, because you want to basically dry fry it.
Yes. I love how the sugar moves by itself.
It's nice and moist, isn't it? It's kind of like, it's got a mind of its own.
Yeah.
All right.
And of course, you can get all the details of the recipe and the shopping list on our website, afternoonexpress.co.za.
Should we move on to our butterscotch
Yes,
sauce?
let's,
Did you
please.
honestly think this is going to be too easy? It's got
I
three
did think
ingredients.
it was going to be too easy.
Yeah? Okay, so now as you see in the pan, it's nicely caramelizing.
Uh-huh,
Let's just take it off the heat. That residual heat will actually continue to...
yeah.
You don't want it to burn too much.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we've got our butter in there. I would say about 60 grams or so. We're going to
60 grams, okay.
add a little bit of this muscovado.
sugar!
More sugar.
Gosh,
Yeah, now this is
terrible for
really
the
nice,
hips.
sort of toffee flavor, kind of like molasses as well. So
Yeah.
simply whisk this in.
You want me to whisk that for you?
Yeah, let's do that. You
I
can
love
whisk that.
helping in the kitchen.
For sure. And so over here, it's definitely caramelizing nicely. You don't want to
Okay.
cook the bananas all the way through because you don't want it to become mushy.
Yes.
So we're going to turn this over, nicely caramelized, place it onto our plate a little bit later. Okay, so that's starting to melt quite nicely as well.
Is this supposed to like become quite a smooth caramelly texture?
No, you see what will happen, the next step is the interesting part. What we're going to do is we're going to add some cream to that. And that's going to bring it all nicely together. So keep on whisking, I'd say for another 10 seconds or so, and then you'll
Okay.
see when we add the cream, it's all going to come nicely together.
So that would be our butterscotch sauce. Done.
Exactly. So let's
Okay,
just add that, and I keep stirring.
Is that double cream or just
Yeah,
normal
single
strength?
cream doesn't make a difference.
Doesn't
It's
make a
just
difference.
yeah, give it a good stir.
Is it less fattening?
I don't think it's going to be any less fattening with all the sugar that's in there, but it's really nice, smooth, and sort of like toffee flavor.
Yes.
Give it a good stir. You can see it coming together nicely.
Uh-huh.
Where it was all quite grainy before.
It's all
it's
quite
all smooth,
now.
isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're also going to do is that caramel works perfectly with salt. It's a new kind
If
of
there's
thing.
anything I've learnt in the loft is that caramel goes very well with salt.
Cool. So we've got some really nice flaked salt, which is always nice to add. Let's give it a good sprinkling of that.
Okay.
Mix it in. And our last little bit is a little bit of vanilla essence. And that's just going to give it its nice, smooth taste as well.
Taste.
Okay.
Beautiful flavour.
Really, really nice,
so
eh?
is that our sauce ready?
How simple was that, really?
Very simple.
Cool. So other things that go really nicely with this, you want to give it a little bit of texture as well. So we've got some flaked almonds.
Almonds, uh-huh.
And that also has just been roasted in a dry pan. You also don't need to add oil or anything to it. Just in a pan, keep tossing it to make sure that it doesn't burn.
Yeah.
And it also just gives it a really nice nutty flavour.
Okay, cool.
And then, finally, what else would a banana split be without some ice cream?
Without some ice cream.
Exactly. Change it up if you want to. You can use some vanilla ice cream, chocolate ice cream, but the classic is vanilla ice cream.
Wow. Do you know what I've got ringing around in my head?
What's that?
Is a war cry we used to sing at school, and it used to start with ice cream, soda, banana, split. I've been trying to get it out of my mind since we started the dessert. But anyway, Julie and Danita are on the couch, ready to talk ETolls after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Blended with caramel syrup, Salati Muscovado is delicious in brownies, gingerbread, fruitcake, and sprinkled over porridge. Salati, always good, always sweet.
Welcome back to what has been quite a controversial episode of Afternoon Express today. We're on the couch with Andrew Marseille and Wayne Duvenage discussing the ongoing ETolls saga if you've just tuned in. So make sure you give us a call, 083-913-3728, and engage with us live on air.
I was sitting backstage just in the loft, just listening to the conversation. What I thought was quite fascinating is you said that's the main issue, is that public wasn't consulted properly or fairly enough for that opinion to have been formed. I'd like to hear what your rebuttal would be to that statement.
I would agree that formal consultation, as people would like it to have happened, not enough of it was done. But to look at it from the perspective of where the SANRAL's coming from, which is the legal and the national transport policy, that decisions had been made 21 years before now, to prioritise certain infrastructures to be funded this way, and also to fund infrastructure in a way which favours public transport. So tolling was the method that everybody was institutionally at least accepting. The other thing I would say, not so much in rebuttal, but in addition, was that all the institutions in Gauteng, the province, the metros, Sanral, were party to a discussion in 2007 about what are our real problems with it. And I facilitated that discussion. A consensus was reached. A compromise was reached with regard to public transport, that they would be exempt. Now, in addition to that, another aspect which really does come into the category of consultation. Wayne mentioned that the newspaper reports got back 28 or I think 80 signatures, 28 people, 28 actual responses, but some of them were various people. Sanral conducted 25,000 interviews with people who are freeway users based on their camera survey of how people use the motorway. And so they tried to get a balance of commuters, all-day users and so on. So 25,000 interviews were done, and then these were moderated by 1,500 telephone interviews to try and work out what is the income strata of those using it. Now, this is information that was done to help feed into the cost-benefit analysis to see the impact of...
Sure. So I think what we were starting to get a bit technical about sort of what was and what was not done. The idea of ETolls, we want to know if it's something that we should be supporting or not supporting. We do have a caller on the line who's got a very interesting question, because I'm interested to know where that money went to. So Andre, your question was around where our money for the ETolls actually goes to in terms of the funding process, was it?
Yes. I believe the operating company is a foreign company, so they have to make profit. Where the profit goes to is the problem. And that profit is exported, so it cannot be used for development of roads in South Africa.
Sure. Anything?
Why is it an international company? Why is it not a local company that's operating?
I think Caps Traficom have got expertise. They're from overseas, and I don't think we've got too much of an issue with that. The problem is that the costs of collection are around about 27%. It's over R1 billion a year. That's what Caps won the tender on, 8.6 billion rand for a 5-year contract, some of it for a little bit of that for the capital expenditure. And yes, 85% owned by Caps Traficom, an Austrian company, so 85% of the profit is free to flow offshore. Sure. Right now, they're making not a cent. They're not even paying, nothing's going into the tarmac, everything's going into the collection process, which is another factor that made this quite a gross situation. Tolling systems around the world generally, the administration costs don't exceed 10%. Ours is 27%.
So money is leaving the country. Andrew?
Well, Coca-Cola and Microsoft also remit their profits. The question about whether you have a foreign company or not is not really a sensible one. I think behind it, though, lies the concern of bad use or corrupt use of the profits.
Yes. And we're not in the same financial circumstances many other economies would be, so we'd need to start spending more money internally.
Well, again, that's not the issue. You have an international competition, a company wins it, and they do the job, and that which is their due, they're free to remit. If we didn't have that, people would start pulling their investments out of South Africa. So it's a non-question, but behind it is the concern that there's a corrupt use of the money. And I'd like to comment here that there is legitimate concerns in South Africa about the extent of government corruption. And I think that what's happened with ETolls is that concerns about the general problems in South Africa, if you were to do a psychological test, you would find that Nkandla, Guptagate and Sanral come up with the same degree of hatred. Now, it's based largely on false information, but partly on the difficulties which Sanral has had actually implementing it. But the money that goes to Sanral does not go into the central government coffers and is a lot less subject to corruption than money that does go into the coffers of the central government.
Yeah, but it's exactly what you said. I think that the people are just tired of paying their tax or paying this, and they're not seeing the benefits of it, which means it's angry to then get...
Yes.
It's easy to get angry at lots of the other things that are being brought up, and it's like Sanral, for example.
Yeah, look, I think the other big issue here is the fact that these are urban roads. So even the Presidential Committee that reviewed state-owned entities in 2013 said in one of their recommendations, I think it was number 21, that social infrastructure, and they say including roads, should be subjected to normal taxation and less to a user pay. So we're used to tolling, but this is not the occasional route I take on the N3 to get to Mpumalanga or to Durban for my holidays. This is the stuff I use daily. And as one presenter put it to me, you know, I don't take a chance on my security with the police, so I go and have a contract with an external security company. I don't take a chance in public schooling. I get a private school, hospitals, I get medical aid, but I'm damn well fed up if I'm going to have to pay to use the roads that I pay my taxes. So I go to work, I earn a salary, and I pay taxes for these roads.
I'd like you guys to think about a specific question, because we need to go to ad break and we'll come back and continue this conversation. But what are the alternatives? Clearly we need the money to improve our infrastructure. What are the alternatives to e-tolling, and what can we do as private people in South Africa to either fight e-tolling or to obviously come and support it to make sure that we're achieving a much stronger economy? Think about that question. We'll come back after the break with more of those. Also after the break, we continue the debate right here on the couch, as well as we carry through the questions from Facebook and on Twitter. So if you haven't gone there, go do it right now. We'll see you after this.
Express yourself. Express yourself.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express. So we've been debating the whole day, but now we are taking your Facebook comments, Twitter posts, and of course your phone calls. The first comment comes from Millicent, and she says, I'm against e-toll. This is just daylight robbery. One has to buy fuel, service a car, and on top of that, pay e-tolls. We have other expenses, and everything is expensive nowadays. E-tolls is making our lives a living hell.
There's another comment from Peter Johnson, who says, I think e-tolls are a very good thing. The monies collected will be for keeping the roads in a very good condition. In Dublin, they use this system in the city centre. Not one, but many of these systems in and on the outskirts of Dublin. The e-toll system must be in place and be introduced in other city centres, countrywide as well. Which already, I think, opens up the big debate about the Western Cape and the whole Cape Town saga. But that's, I think, a whole discussion we're going to have for another day. Before the break, we asked you guys the question of what is the alternative. Andrew, would you like to start?
The alternative is to fund the roads from the government. Now, this would go against the policy of trying to balance the difference between public and private transport. The aim of public funding of roads is, the aim of tolling the roads is to make sure there's more money available to spend on public transport. So if we fund it in any other way, we will help facilitate the existing migration out of public transport into road use. And that will make it more and more difficult also for all the big investment that's going into public transport, in Cape Town especially, to work.
Sure. Wayne?
Look, they're not going to introduce e-tolling here. They want to try and toll this new upgrade anyway, but through boom tolling, and they've gone on record as saying e-tolling has failed, and that's why, I don't know why they're holding on to something that has failed. The alternative is to use taxation, the fuel levy, and that's what they have precisely done, 100%, more than 100% increase over the last 7 years. So it's, as I said earlier, and we are paying, and it's a very efficient mechanism. Every time you or I fill our cars up, we contribute to the fuel levy. The more we drive, the more we contribute to the road use. So it's there.
Fantastic.
Wow, this is a heated debate that I don't know if banana split is going to solve.
We break bread together to say
it was made with love, and this is the best way to end such a serious conversation.
Exactly.
But you can continue the conversation online, please, South Africa. Make sure you do end up on Facebook and on Twitter, and make sure you continue this conversation happening within your families. Let's find a rational and reasonable solution to this saga.
Until Thursday, we love you.
Happy eating.
Good night and happy eating. Ciao.